Is this on? Where's the clicker? This is the clicker, right? Okay, it's on. All right, well, thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here. This is my first time in Saudi. This place really surprised me, how big this convention center is. I was just talking to my friend. This is almost, probably bigger than the Moscone Center in San Francisco, which is where we hold our RSA conference, which supposedly is the largest in the world, but this one may even surpass that. So great job. And I love the city. I went out actually with Ayub and his lovely wife last night. We had a great time. But back to the topic that I'm going to discuss today, developer-centric security. What does that mean? Security in the past is done for security people, is for operational security, is for application security, but it's not for developers. Today, I'm going to talk about how security is moving from operational security to developer-centric security. Is this thing working? Where should I be clicking? Oh, there we go. So a little bit about myself. I'm an investor. I used to be a technologist. And now I'm running a venture fund in Silicon Valley. We specialize in cybersecurity. I have a few awards in my name, and I'm looking forward to connecting with the cybersecurity community here and in Middle East. My big thing is about, there's never been a better time to be in cybersecurity. This is a great time to be a cyber technologist, to be a cyber student, and to be a cyber investor like me. Why? There are 4 things I think are really important. First is we've got lots of interesting new tech happening. The biggest thing right now is AI, right? Every company is experimenting with AI, but nobody knows how to secure AI. So it's a great opportunity for security professionals. Also, there's a lot of conflicts going on in the world, and you don't need me to tell you that. With that happening, infrastructure, policies are going through a refactoring phase. When that happens, it's an opportunity for us technology people to make new innovations, new infrastructure, new automations, which is opportunity for new investments and opportunity for economic returns. As you know, lots of people are looking at automation. Everything as code is happening. That is also a new thing for cybersecurity. And lastly, attacks are not going away. They're becoming even more and more sophisticated. So cybersecurity is always going to be there, and it's going through newer phases, new innovations. That's why it's an important time for us to be talking about cyber. Specifically about enterprise cybersecurity, and many of you are probably enterprise practitioners. I say we started with security operations. What is security operations? You've got your security operations centers looking at event data. You've got application security is doing scanning. You've got people is doing response, but they don't talk to each other. They also don't talk to the application owners or the business people. That is the traditional state of cybersecurity. We are moving to more what I call security engineering. That is the current state. A lot of companies doing hybrid. You're doing a little bit security operations, a little bit security engineering. And I'll talk a little bit about why security engineering is dev-centric security. But after that, I'll talk about the future state of cybersecurity, which is more interesting in my opinion. All right, so what is dev-centric security? I think dev-centric security is what every company should do, and it is existential today. Siloed operations in the past, you've got dev that's focused on time to market. Let's build as fast as we can. We've got security, which is just looking at logs, scanning data, and writing reports, and throw reports over the wall. And we've got operations, just focus on uptime. We need to keep things up, but nothing else, right? All these people don't talk to each other. Now, we do have this thing called DevOps, which is putting developers and operations together in this figure 8, so people are moving together. So with that in mind, What's happening with security? Security is shifting left. Security is also shifting right. What does that mean? We're building what's called security pipelines. In this pipeline concept, we've got tests and analysis, scanning data. We've got security policies all coming onto the pipeline. We've got event data. We've got context data, identity, application, metadata coming to the pipeline. We've got production time observability. We've got runtime monitoring. All these are coming to the pipeline. Your job as a security professional is to build this pipeline so that different data can come to the pipeline and different functional roles can consume data from this pipeline. So what would this enable? This will enable us having real-time data communication, got real-time detection. We will have detection as code, we'll have response as code, and remediation as code. And really, that's where we need to be. Now, there's also an organizational cultural change. If you want everything to come to the pipeline, you must educate and make every functional role that has data to tap into the pipeline. So if you build a security function without APIs, you can't have people tap into your data. So you must build it with API. You must learn to program. I was talking to Ayub again last night. He was telling, he's the CISO of Noon. You guys know Noon, right? He was telling me that his team, all his team members, security, are developers. They all know how to write code, which is really interesting. Netflix did this about 10 years ago. They moved their security operations center into security engineering center. Instead of building a SOC, they were building pipelines. They were giving education about developers how to tap into security data and security people how to tap into application data. Once we have engineers as security professionals, we're really into security engineering, not security operations. They're not analysts just looking at logs. They're building scripts. They're building functions. They're building applications. That's how we can get to security as code. Now, I'm going to skip this one. This one it's interesting, but it's not as interesting as what I'm going to do next. So we talked about moving from security operations to security engineering. What is the next stage? The next stage is where I spend a lot of time on it right now. Think about AI is making a big change in everyday's life, right? Every company. When AI is everywhere, AI is even writing code for you. What are we going to do? We're not going to be writing code anymore. What are we going to do? We're going to be building models. So not only security is moving to security engineering, we're going to be moving to model trust, model development, and model evaluation. And that's the future of security. I want you to look at 5 days, this number. You know what 5 days is? 5 days is all it took for ChatGPT to reach 1 million users. It took Instagram 2 months. It took Facebook 10 months. Netflix 3.5 years to reach 1 million users. ChatGPT took 5 days. That's how popular AI is. And between November 2022 to May 2023, there's 1,310% increase of people using LLM APIs to build things on top of AI. So we are really looking at a huge increase of AI usage. What does it mean? AI, and my hypothesis is that AI engineering now will subsume software engineering. That means all the software engineers are now building models. They're not writing code. We'll be building models. And that has far-reaching consequences or impact to cybersecurity. This is just a number, the amount of money that's invested in different AI companies, it's huge. If you go to San Francisco, every weekend there is an AI meetup. Somebody's coming in to talk about their new and fancy AI model. It's a super interesting time for Silicon Valley right now. Databricks just published a report saying we are now in the golden age of AI. Are we? We're not yet. We're still walking, we're not running. Why? Because training AI models is still super expensive, takes very long time. The results are not easily explainable or testable. We can't really trust it as much. We don't have data transparency. Abuse of AI model is highly probable. So we're going to be focusing on this for a long time before AI is everywhere, is truly everywhere. And data security plays a big role. And for cybersecurity professionals, this is where we need to be focused on. So what does it mean data is transforming, right? So you think about, this is what an LLM works. They train on gigantic data sets in the public domain, and they built a baseline LLM. And you, as an enterprise, you may use it, but you may be augmenting it with your own domain-centric data. And this whole thing is going back into the LLM, maybe enrich this large language model. And this is how it's done today. In security, you've got defenders and attackers, right? And typically, the attackers will have less data than you have. But when you think about AI is now in the mix, defenders will use large language models. Your attackers can also use large language models. And you can say, oh, I've got my organizational data the attacker may not have, so I will have a better model than them. Is that true? It may be true today, may not be true tomorrow. When the attacker has as much data as you do, then we're in trouble. In that world, we're going to have a data broker economy. Think about your defenders here. You've got your attackers. They may be organized crime. They may be nation state. These people have money and resources to buy data. And you will see people who are collecting data, specializing collecting data. You will see people who are specializing packaging data. You will see people who specialize in training AI model that's recognizing security vulnerabilities of certain organizations, and they can sell that model. And this value chain is not unlike international arms trade. So my hypothesis is in the future, we'll see arms trade-like business model for data trading. And that is the future we're looking at. It's a little bit scary. Think about today, if I ask, this is the query I actually did a few days ago. If I ask Llama or I ask OpenAI, show me the security vulnerabilities of Bank of America, they're not going to tell me, right? So they're going to say, one of them said, oh, I can't tell you data that will harm any organization. The other one said, oh, I don't have any real-time data of an organization. But in the future, consider this. This is a real example, right? Ubuntu, this version of the Ubuntu operating system is vulnerable to this CVE. And we know that there is an exploit in the wild by this name can exploit this CVE. Now, we may not know that Bank of America has this version, but we might be able to ask, have they ever purchased this operating system in the past? This could be a question we can ask. We may also know that product X will defend against this exploit, and these are all public knowledge, right? We may also know that product X and product Y don't mix together, and they never, ever deploy together. So we can ask the question, has Bank of America ever purchased this operating system? We can also ask the question, does Bank of America use product Y? If they use product Y, we'll know that product X is probably not there. Now, this is a very contrived example, but it is possible. In this world, we can ask public LLMs or special purpose security attack LLMs questions to understand specific vulnerabilities about an organization. And guess what? Once you understand that, you know how to attack them. And that could happen tomorrow, could happen next week, may happen next year. It will happen. So that's one thing. And also data security, if you're using LLM in defense, that is, you're looking at data security taking on a different dimension as well. So traditionally, data security is what? It's at the high level, you got data discovery, classification, you've got access management, who can access this data, and you got things like encryption, DLP, that are protection, right? These are just high-level data security, what's about. Today, with AI in the mix, you have to worry about a few other dimensions. If you are using an LLM for defense, you gotta know the training data that goes into train this LLM. That could be long before you got your hands on the model as a user, because without knowing the training data, you can't really trust or rely on the model. So the training data, trusting training data now is part of your data security scope, as well as how they build their data pipeline to train the model. Does your own enterprise data go into this pipeline? Can you ensure the confidentiality, privacy of your data? All that goes into the scope of data security. So this is extra dimensions now that we have to think about. Another thing, software engineering moving to model development, software security are moving to model security. What does that mean? Again, think about application security. Traditional application security, again, high-level thing, is about static analysis, software component analysis, dynamic analysis, and pen testing, right? So it's different analysis on the software. In the model trust world, what do we have? Static analysis now is moving to data analysis. We need to have data transparency. We need to know what data goes into training the model. We need to analyze the data. You're not analyzing the code anymore because AI is writing code for you, but you need to analyze the data. Software component analysis, it will become model supply chain analysis. There was an incident that, not an incident per se, but US government found out that many of their code was relying on this particular open source model that was the primary contributor of this open source library came from Russia. When that knowledge became well known, they have to scramble to switch to a different open source library. And this is the same thing here, right? So is the government going to use an AI model that's developed by your enemy state? Probably not, but you need to know whether the product you're using LLM, if they are using a third-party, fourth-party LLM, and where that comes from, you got to know that. So that's supply chain. And of course, pen testing becomes AI red teaming, which some of the companies are already doing. Okay, I don't have a lot of time. So DevSecOps in today's security engineering will move to sort of a different model in AI, will become AI governance, connected with model trust, connected with data security. All three will become the new model for DevSecOps. So with that, we're looking at, again, AI usage is booming, right? So this is where OpenAI came out. You see the red line is using APIs of LLM, and March 2023 is DALL-E, which is the LLM platform, came out, and that yellow line has come up. That is people are building applications on top of LLM. With that usage skyrocketing, we're seeing a lot of demand, a lot of requirements for AI governance, for AI security, which means it's a great time to be in cybersecurity. So I'm just going to finish my talk with 30 seconds to go. We have a complex and dynamic ecosystem today, but it's an exciting time. So I commend you all to be in cybersecurity. And if you're doing a cybersecurity startup, make sure to grab me after the talk, and I'd love to learn a little bit more about it. Thank you so much.